What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 80. As always, as you're watching on YouTube, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and don't, for the love of God, forget, you can submit your questions to SpeakPipe. We'll answer any question and all questions live here on the podcast, or in the YouTube video, I should say. And as you probably noticed, another remote episode. He's my friend, he's your friend. It's our stand-in Cowboys fan, Matt. All right? Appreciate you, Matt, as always, for being here with us. We got one more of these before we're back in the studio, as some would say. Thank you all so much for the love on the last video. That was not at all what I expected, and I, honest to God, loved the discussions in the comments. You will probably catch me, if you leave a comment on the video, strictly in the comments debating. I love a healthy discussion. I'm not going to call you an idiot. I'm simply just going to try and play devil's advocate. Shout out the Cardinals fan for being in there, and you know what, brought up some really good points, so that was pretty exciting. As you all know, this is episode 80, so we got to go with favorite player to wear number 80. For me, on the Chargers, that would be Kellen Winslow, famous tight end for the Chargers, arguably one of the greatest, up there with Antonio Gates. That was an easy one to find a number for, a lot easier than 79, as most of you would expect. Matt, I don't know if you have any players yourself that wore number 80 that you care for? Off the top of your head, I know I'm putting you on the spot. If you don't, that's okay.
I'm all good on that.
Okay,
I know there's a couple of big names, but I didn't really watch back then, so I won't say I have a favorite player there.
You know what? And that is fair. Kellen Winslow did play in the 70s. Yeah, no, you're good. Also, appreciate all the love. We got 2 more subscribers. We're up to 90. Appreciate you guys big time. Road to 100. We're almost there. This week, we will be talking about way too early week 1 predictions. You might have figured out our lane that we've liked a lot. We're going to go over the first week of the season, some of the games, where they're at, how they're played, and we're just going to kind of, give a rough guess of what we think might happen. It's obviously way too early, so don't take any of this too seriously, for the love of God. All right, we're still 3-4 months away from the season even being a question. Your favorite players will get hurt, and some teams will just get hit with an injury bug earlier than the rest. Who knows? Okay, that's all I'm getting at. Don't come for my throat if I send out a spread at a weird number, all right? Let's get right into this. Right out of the gate, week 1, Thursday night football, baby. Prime time. We got Cowboys at Eagles. They are hanging the banner with the Cowboys live in person to watch it. Philadelphia favored by 7. It's an NFC East rivalry right after the Super Bowl win. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think I remember that in most situations, the Super Bowl hangover is real.
Yeah, except for last year with the Chiefs.
Now, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. When you put it that way,
they won a stunner against the Ravens last year.
That's right. That was an electric game.
Lost by a toe.
But yeah, oh my God, that's right. It was the toe game.
Yep.
But Dallas got George Pickens. We've talked a little bit about that on this podcast. That is going to be such a big piece of how this game goes, in my opinion. That Eagles defense is crazy good.
Yeah.
They only gotten better. They've lost a couple key players on defense, no doubt. But out of the gate, CeeDee Lamb to the media seemed pretty nice about George Pickens being on the team. Dak Prescott can throw the ball unlike the quarterbacks he's had in Pittsburgh. That might be a real telltale sign. Of course, the Cowboys still need to figure out the running back game. That'll be a huge piece as well. But if they get George Pickens involved with Jake Ferguson and make it work, I'm simply going to say I don't hate the Cowboys at probably plus 7.5. It's in prime time. Historic unders, historic covers. That team's probably going to be hungry to still beat the shit out of the Cowboys. I mean, having a divisional game right out of the gate is kind of wild, in my opinion.
Brutal, yeah.
It's a little brutal, given most teams this in the week 1 do. But I don't know. The over-under, out of spite of it being primetime, I'd hammer the under. That's just a side thing. But 7 points is a lot of points. It is at Philadelphia. It'll be packed house for the banner night. All those people hate the Cowboys. Winning-wise, I'd safely pick the Eagles to win. Them winning by a touchdown, I think, might be a bit much. What do you think, Matt?
I think 7. I think you would take Philly 7 here.
You think Philly 7?
Well, we have that new guard rookie. He has a big
Yeah.
like I mentioned.
Trent Booker or whatever.
And then
Right.
also it's going to take some adjustment period. Yeah, they have all preseason to get used to George Pickens, but actually in the big game, George Pickens isn't used to the Philly crowd because Philly fans can be a little more rowdier. You know, especially when they're hanging the banner against their division rival. It's going to be pretty loud in there. So
you might have just convinced me the other way. I think
George Pickens is known to be a hothead too. So with all those fans in his ear 24/7, I'm a Cowboys fan. I root for the Cowboys. I'm high on the Cowboys this year. George Pickens. It's grown on me, but this game just feels like
a trap.
It's all against the Cowboys in my opinion here, and they could come out and stun it. And I want to pick the Cowboys, but I feel like realistically, a set 7 is probably a good line for this. Honestly, I do like the under too.
I mean, the under Thursday night games.
Both defenses are pretty solid. And everyone's knocking the rest off for the first game of the year, you know. So,
and I think we have that same discussion every year. The first week is it's like preseason games aren't even with the starters half the time anymore.
It's like the first.
It's just
game.
watching. Yeah, it's just watching the backups. I do love the under. I'm gonna just play devil's advocate and take the +7 only because it's the first game of the season. The divisional rival part of it makes me think this will be a closer game. I could see the Cowboys covering. Maybe being down a touchdown into the last drive and then kicking a field goal and they only lose by 4. But it feels like these games are always a little bit closer than what we kind of seems like out of the gate, given the Cowboys' start last year was not amazing. For the way too early part of it, I'll take the Cowboys +7.
I'll take Philly -7. That'll be my pick.
Philly -7? Yeah. All right. Game 2, Friday Night Lights in Brazil.
Both our Chiefs for the first 2, man. It should be a sad start to the season. I'm
gonna roll into that Saturday and just sad. But here's the thing: Chiefs at Chargers. It's really both teams in Brazil. So Chiefs have won the last 7 games between the Chiefs and Chargers. Travis Kelce has absolutely destroyed the Chargers single-handedly in most of these games. As a Chargers fan myself, here's my opinion. I think if the Chargers were going to beat them somewhere, it's an away game if you're at SoFi. It's an away game if you're at Arrowhead. In Brazil, you're both away. So I really don't hate the idea that the Chargers might be able to sneak one here. All right, and I know how dumb and optimistic that sounds, is how good the Chiefs have gotten with the draft, and they lost the Super Bowl. First game after the Super Bowl, they'll probably be wanting to send a message. It's in Brazil. If there was somewhere the Chiefs were going to lose, I would pick the Chargers here. It just feels like one of those moments where they might be able to sneak one, and if it's in a different country, so be it. Chargers defense is going to be good. Again, Jim Harbaugh still doing it. They bring in a new wide receiver to help out Justin Herbert, Marion Hampton. Those 2 players, if they have breakout first half of the season, will make all the difference. Personally, I kind of love the Chargers, and I keep trying to talk myself out of it. And I'm going to be a hopeless romantic until they break my heart and Travis Kelce puts up 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on them. Because it happens every goddamn year. Travis Kelce is a Charger killer. He will be a bum for 12 weeks, and then they play the Chargers, and it's like, who is this UC Bearcat been revived by? I rest my case.
I'm with you. I think the Chargers squeak by here.
I think if there's an opportunity for them to do it, it's here.
Kelce's getting older, so hopefully that slows down on him killing the Chargers.
I mean, and also, Rashee Rice will be back. Pacheco runs angry. I don't know.
We had like 8 or 9 games last year where the Chiefs won by like a possession or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a single play almost.
They had the Broncos had a missed field goal. The Raiders had a botched snap in field goal range. Like, they were barely squeaking by bad teams. The Chargers are actually a pretty solid team. But like you said, it's in Brazil. Of course, they'll get there a few days early and get accustomed to it. But I think the Chargers generally do have a pretty solid chance to win this. So if I was them, I'd probably take Chargers +3. Guaranteed.
Listen, yeah, I'm taking Chargers +3. I've already taken them money line in this game. I'll announce that now. #FanDuel. The thing about it is they've lost 7 in a row. Statistically, the blind dog should find the food bowl once in a while. And God help me if they lose this game.
The Chiefs also lost their first game last year to the Lions, if I'm not... Or was that 2 years ago?
I don't know.
That was last year where the Lions beat the Chiefs in week 1. I could be wrong.
I think you're right, because the year before was the first year that they were decent. So then last year when they played each other, it was a whole thing.
So, I
But
mean, there's something
we've
there.
only
I
had,
don't know.
yeah,
But we say this every year. I'm always low on the
uh-huh,
Chiefs. They're just a sneaky team, and then I think they're a playoff team. They're kind of like the Patriots with Tom Brady. They just
yep,
do what they need to
oh
do in the
yeah,
season, then turn to a playoff team. And I say it
yeah,
every
no,
year,
they're
and I'll bet against the Chiefs every year, and then I'll lose more money every year, and then the cycle continues. But
and the cycle
I
continues.
will
But at
say
least we
+3
acknowledge it.
Chargers here, and if not Chargers,
+3
money line.
Chargers. Yeah, I've already locked in the money line for the Chargers. All right, now we're into the Sunday games at 1 o'clock. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Atlanta Falcons. All right, we got Tampa Bay is favored by 2.5 currently. I don't know how much these lines will move between now and even a month. So with a grain of salt, please, people. Penix Jr., new quarterback for the Falcons. He had improving numbers throughout the last few games he started the season last year. Great for him. I mean, the season came down the line for the Falcons, if I remember correctly, but it was all riding on how the Buccaneers performed. So there wasn't much of their controlling their own destiny as long as they won out.
Vice versa, actually. The
It was the other way.
Falcons swept the Bucks in the division,
Oh,
and then
didn't
the
the
Falcons
Bucks?
choked a game. And the Bucks won out.
That's what happened. Okay, strike that. Thank you. Buccaneers obviously still have, oh my God, Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin. They picked up, was it not McMillan, but the, oh my God, the wide receiver
from Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yep.
they still have that Sterling Shepard. He's pretty solid.
Still have Sterling Shepard.
Rashad White.
Tampa drafted well, trying to get better. They drafted 2 corners out of the gate almost. I think it was like the first 3 picks, 2 of them were corners. Falcons, oh, that's right, lost in overtime to Washington and Carolina last season. I don't know. This is an NFC South game. If there's value anywhere, I would definitely say the over.
Yes,
Historically,
I think they scored like almost 70 points per game last time.
Yep.
I can't speak. Both games
last
year
matchup
scored about 70.
Yeah, these two teams love to drive the over, and they have offensive weapons on both sides. It's going to be a battle of who could improve the defense the most. You know, these games should start getting interesting. I like Baker. I think he can do it. For this game in particular, I really like Atlanta +2.5, not +2.5 money line, only because it's at Atlanta. I think the Buccaneers win the one at Tampa Bay later in the season.
I don't know. I'm really liking the Bucks 2.5.
You liking the I mean, spread wise, you're going to take it. That makes the most sense.
I mean, they got swept last year, and they didn't control their destiny. They're obviously going to come out with a little vengeance there.
Yeah,
Baker's actually
it's probably
fully
going to be
healthy.
A bit personal.
He always gets banged up mid-season. We know that.
Yeah, he's got all of his wide receivers.
Everything's fully healthy for the Bucks. I think they're one of the scarier teams in the league when they are all fully healthy. So I think the Bucks will start off strong, and I think the Bucks will easily cover 2.5.
One thing I will say is, as of last year, Tampa Bay had the 4th worst passing defense. If the Falcons are going to attack the Buccaneers in any sort of way, I feel like it's going to be through the air. Maybe not the first couple drives, because that's knocking the rust off.
Too.
Yeah, and
semi-rookie.
Semi-rookie. It's first full season maybe starting, but you have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts. I mean, hell, Bijan Robinson got thrown the ball more than I think he ran it really last year. It felt like there's probably some standout games.
Mooney, I believe, as well.
Darnell Mooney. I just like the Falcons. I don't know why. It could just be the hype of that first game. I'll probably bite my words, but I would take Falcons money line specifically because you're not going to get much for the +2.5 here. Matt?
I would take the
Buccaneers.
Yep, Bucks 2.5.
All right, and to be honest, it's an NFC South game, but it should be exciting. I do love the over. I mean, 7 out of the 10 games, yeah, please feed me that. Bengals at Browns, the Battle of Orange. To be honest with you, the Browns quarterback situation, something else. So the latest thing I saw coming out was that Pickett and Gabriel were taking the first and second reps, and that Flacco and Sanders were somewhere between 3rd and 4th. Who knows? I don't know what to think about that situation. Obviously, they've got time. This is way too early. They did get a great defensive tackle in the draft to match with Myles Garrett, or defensive player. I just have to think that the Bengals are going to come out, even though it's in Cleveland, and they're going to show why they paid Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Yossi Voss is there, paid Eifert, Chase Brown.
One Bengals.
What'd you say?
Still the week 1 Bengals.
I know.
The last time the Bengals and the Browns played was 2 years ago, week 1. Or last time they played week 1 was 2 years ago, and the Bengals lost 24-3. The Super Bowl last year, or supposed to be, and they got beat 10-17.
Is that week 1 game, isn't it?
This feels like a trap again. I think the Bengals do win it, but it just wouldn't shock me if somehow, some way, the Browns pulled it off. The division rivalry week 1, and it's the week 1 Bengals, man.
No, you're so right. I almost forgot about that. But I do love that this is divisional instead of it being a random in-conference game. So it's not the Patriots. It's not like, I don't know, the Chiefs. It's not Bills or someone random in the AFC. Yeah. I almost like it better that it's the Browns in division. And I'm only gaslighting myself into believing this is true and somehow they can pull it off. But this game could be the start of the Bengals just giving up 20 to 25 points a game. And if they can score 35, they win every game. And if they can't get above 30, they've lost it all because they give up however many points, 31 points.
Who are the Browns wide receivers now? Because I know Judy's gone and Cooper's gone.
That's a great
I didn't
question.
Even think about that.
Nick Chubb's still a free agent. Jerome Ford is number 1 on their depth chart right now.
And
the defense is going to be spicy, I think, but their offense is less than palpable.
Movable it's just force for stoppable objects.
Yeah. So I think the Bengals offense alone could handle this. The Browns offense, who only knows? I mean,
I think Bengals win it pretty handily, but I don't want to say it shocked me if the Bengals bangled.
There's a doomsday scenario where this goes sideways for the Bengals, and no one's surprised because it's week 1. Yeah. But on that note, I will be taking early Cincinnati -5.5.
Wait, I believe, when did the Bengals make the Super Bowl? Was that 2021?
21?
I believe that was the last time they won week 1.
Oh, so if they win week 1, Bengals to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, confirmed.
And now Bengals signing Trey Hendrickson and any other defensive players. I can't remember who the other guy was. They need to get Trey Hendrickson back, for the love of God.
Yeah.
They need him back there. And Stewart, that's who it is. The first round pick for the Bengals still hasn't signed his contract.
Yeah.
Yep, as of Wednesday night. So, nevertheless, who you taking, Matt?
I'm gonna get Bengals. I feel like I have to.
Bengals.
It feels like
I'm not trying to. It's I don't know. Heaven forbid. Dolphins at Colts. Okay, these two teams have not played that much in the last, I think it's like 12 years. So we have only 5 matchups to reference. Colts have won 4 of those. And something to note, of course, Colts had a top 10 worst rushing defenses in 2024. I mean, this is a weird line, in my opinion, because Anthony Richardson needs to make leaps and bounds from last year. He caught a lot of flack for, I think it was tapping out of the game early. That got a lot of bad publicity.
Because he was tired,
and I think it was he could only throw deep early on in the season, and then all of a sudden he just couldn't get a pass.
He could throw deep, he just wasn't accurate short.
That's what it was.
He threw so many interceptions short, and they fumbled a couple times. He couldn't hold on to the ball, and he was having troubles actually handing it off.
So some of these issues I'm hoping have been addressed. Those are mental issues. He was a rookie last year. The Colts don't exactly have a stellar roster right now. They lost some of that defense.
That fossil. They have,
they drafted
Junior. Who else?
They had some other good wide receiver.
Alec Pierce, who he only caught deep balls. He ended the games like 2 catches for like 94 yards.
Deep ball threat. And they drafted a tight end. I think that was where Tyler Warren went.
Okay.
But I think one of the tight ends. Don't quote me. I'm sorry, guys. But, then you're going up against the Dolphins, who had the 4th best overall yards per game defense, which is surprising to me. They drafted heavy on the defense. And then, same question, can their quarterback stay healthy and in the game?
Yeah.
Achane, great. I think Mostert might be gone or not re-signed right now, but Achane's still there. And that's all you need.
Still have
Tyreek Hill.
And Tyreek.
Still have Waddle, yes.
And is it Jawan Johnson, the tight end?
Smith. Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith. Who's Jawan Johnson?
And he was the 49ers wide receiver?
Yeah.
I think. But regardless, that Smith guy was heating up at the end of last season. And
yeah,
I'm gonna do something here I don't like. I'm gonna feather the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins might be able to pull this one off. The Colts didn't impress me last year. I think they could surprise us if Anthony Richardson just figures it out. But I don't know what.
In November, I'd lean the Colts, but Tua actually plays good ball the warmer.
Yeah, inside.
And
yeah,
inside,
no, I agree.
Yeah. So I think I'd
Early
play the Dolphins side too on this one.
Yeah, just take money line. Don't even mess with the 1.5.
I just don't know where the Colts will be, and we've seen this Dolphins team. We know they can have really good offense.
I agree. They've popped off as much as they've turtled.
I haven't
it's
seen
just
Anthony Richardson.
No, I think he had a couple. Yeah, true. Fair enough. Now, a real funny battle. So I found the craziest stat for this game since it's Pete Carroll versus Vrabel. They've only gone against each other twice that I could find. When Vrabel was coaching the Seahawks, Carroll was coaching the Seahawks and Vrabel was coaching the Titans, both their last head coaching roles. In both of the matchups, the away coach won by 3 points. So one time Pete Carroll won by 3 in Tennessee, and one time Vrabel won by 3 points in Seattle. Thought that was hilarious. I don't think that really matters, but the fact that the spread's 3 just makes it funny to me out of the gate. Pete Carroll with the Raiders, they had plenty of draft picks. They have Ashton Jeanty, Geno Smith. Can't forget about you can't forget about him. I can't remember what.
Brock Bowers.
And just like that, I forgot about him. Brock Bowers, thank you. Geno Smith's a veteran quarterback. Pete Carroll, veteran coach. His first year back, but now they've got a running game. Like I said earlier in the season, or earlier this year, Pete Carroll's kind of maybe found his new Marshawn Lynch, for all we know. Ashton Jeanty looked pretty damn good in college. I know that drew a lot of, controversy if he'd translate to the NFL, good or bad.
Should have won the Heisman, should have gone to the Cowboys.
Of course. The tear runs down Matt's eye. And then you got Patriots, okay? They pick up, I think it was Will Campbell. Is that his name? Just a beefy lineman for the Patriots to protect Drake May. They get, is it Stephon Diggs, I think, went to the Patriots? No. It was Diggs, I think. Along with Trayvon Burks and Demario Douglas. Have to think Mike Vrabel's going to have the boys playing tough football.
Diggs is on the Patriots.
Okay. You're traveling a couple time zones away to New England. I don't know what that Raiders defense is going to look like. They've spent a lot of their draft on offense. I don't remember any specific defenders going to the Raiders that were mind-blowing or newsworthy. I'm not going to lie here. Vrabel's a tough son of a bitch, and Pete Carroll chews gum too loud. I think I'm going to take Patriots -3 as of right now.
I love Ashton Jeanty, but I think the Patriots defense actually looked decently solid last year. I think Drake May actually started to come into form at the end of the year. He had that really good overtime win, which I think was that against the Raiders?
That part I don't know.
But yeah, he had a really Drake May seemed to get a lot more comfortable, and the team really started to rally behind him. It almost kind of looked like how the Panthers with Bryce Young was doing, how they started showing life. They actually started playing better when they started trusting their quarterback. So I think the Patriots actually started off pretty.
Yeah, they won the opener last year. Ramondre Stevenson still there, exactly. Well, not their home opener, but won their opening game. And then on top of it, I mean, Vrabel just brings a level of football to this that Gerard Mayo couldn't when he was in the press conference saying, once the boys hit the field, I can no longer coach. Hilarious thing to say.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots win this one. Maybe not handedly, but
I think 3 is a low spread. I think it's 7, at least. 7.
I could see that. On the game, it must be talked about. Cardinals at Saints. Arizona's favored by 4. Saints just lost Derek Carr. They did draft a quarterback in the draft, but now they got to pick between the 3 or 4 they got on the roster. Cardinals, you know what? Commenter on the YouTube video last week, I can't remember your name, saved my life. I'm so sorry. But made some good points about the Cardinals. Yeah. They could come out here swinging, all right? Marvin Harrison Jr., second year in the league. Left last season a little bit wanting a little bit more. There was a lot of drop passes from the looks of it, or Kyler Murray just couldn't get him the ball. I don't know. Nevertheless, he had plenty of targets, not a lot of catches. Trey McBride is an absolute weapon. James Conner.
In the end zone.
Yeah.
That was
dude, he had a crazy...
Last year. He had 100 catches, no touchdown or something towards the end of the season.
Yeah. He, James Conner, a beast. Cardinals drafted well on defense. They have two of their best defenders coming back from injury, or two really good ones, I should say. I don't want to speak out of my mouth, but I think the Cardinals handle business with the Saints, figuring out what they need to do with their roster. I don't think the Saints are going to be very good this year. Kyler Murray just came off, I think, one of his best seasons ever. I like the Cardinals a lot here. I hope the Saints can stay competitive.
Sorry, I like the Cardinals here, and it's going to be a hate wash after what the Saints did to the Cowboys last year.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe the Saints put something together. It's not like I think this game's going to be a 30-point game.
It's not going to be a 30-point game, but it ain't going to be relatively close after the first quarter, I think.
I think the Cardinals are ready to go. No joke.
Saints season ends after the first quarter. No, I'm kidding. That's a little far. But
that's a bit dark. I like the energy.
I don't think the Saints have a chance in this game, to be honest.
I won't lie. I might take over 42.5 in this situation. It's 1 o'clock. You're knocking the rust off. Trey McBride might go for 200 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. might come out of this game wanting more after last year. James Conner, who knows? Just my thoughts.
And
so I'll take Cardinals.
Spencer Rattler's the starting quarterback.
True. I mean, after the performance we had, I mean, put in Jake Browning or whoever they've got on that roster at this point. I can't remember. There was some other name. I can't. Sorry, Saints fans, not sorry. I'm taking Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going Cardinals too.
All right. Steelers at Jets. Do we have a rematch? Aaron Rodgers versus former team.
If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers, I think Steelers win by a good amount. I don't know much about the Jets anymore at this point. I really haven't kept up with them.
Justin Fields on the Jets. You still have Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. You still have Sauce Gardner on the defense. My only thing to say would be if Aaron Rodgers ends up on the Steelers, that defense will know him like the back of his hand. And he didn't, I think, badmouth the Jets at all as an organization. Well, didn't badmouth the defense at any point. I know he had his problems, the owner bringing his kid in the locker room, having him do some speech. You know, there's some weird shit going on in the front office of the Jets. But the Jets defense will know Aaron Rodgers if he signs with the Steelers. This is all, hypotheticals, but it's way too early, so why not?
Justin Fields' revenge game. I've always been high on Fields. I always
true. Justin Fields' revenge game, too. It's flop quarterbacks.
They benched him for Russell Wilson last year. It's... Never mind. I think even if Rodgers goes to the Steelers, I think the Jets actually have a good chance.
And I guess that goes both ways. Steelers defense would know Justin Fields a lot.
But who
has more to offer? Yeah, DK Metcalf is on the Steelers. Justin Fields started the season in last year pretty well before he got benched for Russell Wilson once he was healthy.
I believe 6-0.
It's something like that. Yeah, it was something crazy. And Steelers added their defense in the draft. They got that steal at 20th pick, Harmon, I think it was. Guess the Chargers didn't get him. But Jets also have Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator for the Lions, as their head coach. So I'm kind of looking for that Jets defense, which wasn't that bad last year once I looked at the stats.
It's only going to improve.
It's only going to improve.
But who was that guy? Was it Hassan Reddick?
Reddick?
Sitting out last year? He got fined like $2 million.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to him. I haven't heard much or looked into him specifically. But if he's there...
I don't know. I think you convinced me. I'm the under's hitting, but I'm Jets.
I think I'm going to take the Jets. I mean, maybe straightly out of the underdog is covered for the last 5 games, if anything. But there's really a case either way here. It's at the Jets, and I feel like a lot of those Jets fans, if Aaron Rodgers is on the Steelers, they're hate watching hard. They're going up to the Meadowlands to hate watch the fuck out of this game. Yeah. I'll take Jets just for the parity. Jets +3. Logan, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. It's way too early. It's money line.
Money line.
Giants at Commanders. Commanders -7.5. Came out today that Scary Terry, I think, wants more money on his contract. Understandably, after the season he had, that won't be a problem. Commanders are 4-3-1 in the last 8 versus the Giants, given there's been 7 different quarterbacks starting for those 8 games.
And the Commanders
kind of a crazy
really came into form last year.
They did. I don't know. Giants drafted Abdul Carter. They have Thibodeau on that defensive line.
Yeah.
I think the Giants did draft a guard. Or, they... never mind.
Dart.
I take that back. Jackson Dart on the Giants. Dabble supposed to be this quarterback guru mastermind.
And they got Neighbors.
I don't know. They got Neighbors still.
Tyrone Tracy Jr. as running back. I don't know. I feel like we're making the Giants out a little better than they are.
Giants only lost by 3 and 5 points last year to the Commanders.
Oh.
One of those games went to overtime, I think.
Oh no!
Call me crazy.
I think it's still belt to ass. I think the Commanders still
belt to ass.
I still think the Commanders come out and roll them. If I'm being honest,
I want to say yes. It seems like that's how it goes most of the time. It's at Washington.
This will be 8th different starting quarterback according to your stat in 9 games.
Yeah, you're right. According to my stats, everybody, it's close to that. I was just looking at box scores to try and figure it out. But no, it should be that number. But regardless, Commanders might actually have fans now, like legitimate fans out there to start the season off, to come out hot and swinging.
They get another wide receiver too, right?
Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. And then, like as you said, they do have 2 pretty good edge rushers on New York. But
yeah,
he's
they
also
do.
A mobile quarterback. Like
that's the part.
Half the time he's a run first quarterback.
So, and I don't know what to expect from the Giants in general. It could be a rocky first few weeks, or they could come out swinging and then fall off. To be honest, I was going back and forth. I'll probably take Washington spread here. I think at home, division rival, the 7.5 scares the hell out of me. Not gonna lie.
The half is what's
but
scary.
I think
7's a solid line. The half is what.
Yeah, the half will edge you out. But it should be a good game. I don't know. Jackson Dart. The Giants drafted really well.
They did.
Do they start the season out crazy? Probably not. That's not how the draft works.
They gotta have time to mesh, and you can practice all you want. The in-game experience is what's really going to mold them if they do decide to actually mesh well. So I think the Commanders will go out there and sophomore slump or not. I think the Commanders still handle it pretty.
They still have Brian Robinson Jr. Yeah, exactly. It's like nothing's really changed there.
McNichols, Zacchaeus, Debo, Scary Terry, Jaden Daniels. It's Zach Ertz. Wait, not Zach Ertz. Who's it? Yeah, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, and he picked up really well at the end of the last season too.
Exactly.
So, you've convinced me. I'll take Commanders. Make it easy. The Battle of Big Cats. We got Panthers at Jaguars, the Sunday 1:00 game that everybody wants hardcore. But you do have Travis Hunter.
Watching.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're not wrong. Favorite is covered in all 5 of these matchups. Home team has won 4 of the last 5. And then these were 2 of the top worst defenses by yards per game allowed.
The Panthers actually had a pretty good offseason. I didn't really check their draft much, except for they did get that McMillan, I believe.
Yes, McMillan. Sorry about earlier. This is who I was talking about. McMillan went to the Panthers.
So I
got my wide receivers crossed.
I think the Panthers, as I said earlier in the video, that they started really rallying around Bryce Young. He actually looked like he was getting his confidence back. I feel like they had a pretty good offseason, and I was in our rankings video. I was actually pretty high on the Panthers. I feel like they come out and have a much better year. And I even said that they have a chance to be in the wild card race. I didn't say spot race. I'm saying
you did.
At least. And I'm not high on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I know they got rid of both Calvin Ridley and the other guy.
Kirk Cousins?
No,
Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk. Sorry, guys.
We both said that. But they have Gabe Davis. I don't even know who their wide receiver 1 is. Travis Etienne had a very good year.
Didn't the Jaguars get Travis Hunter?
They did get Travis Hunter, but it's also going to be how can he play an actual NFL game on both sides of the ball, or will he tire out? Will he actually translate?
Use him only on one?
Will he translate from college NFL? Well, I don't know. I think I'm pretty high on the Panthers on this game.
Yeah, you're a bit of a Travis Hunter hater, aren't you, too?
I'm not a Travis Hunter hater. I just think Genty's better.
Okay, that's fair. I'll leave it at that.
Genty should have won the Heisman. That's why I was hating
him. So I don't know if this is true or not. I didn't check the terrible podcast host I am. I believe Etienne's brother got drafted by the Panthers. It's the same last name. I need to verify.
His brother was in the draft.
Okay, so the Panthers got him. So it's the battle of ETN. So that's kind of hilarious if he stays on the team. Obviously, there's plenty of time between now and then to get cut. Jacksonville's favored by 3. I think Bryce Young comes out. It felt like they were clicking hard at the end of last year. Trevor Lawrence was hurt. Mac Jones was doing a pretty damn good job. I'm curious to see how Travis Hunter impacts this game. But for sake of big cats, I'm going to take Panthers plus 3 myself. I'll be honest. I'm a Trevor Lawrence hater for the sole fact of what they did to the Chargers and fucking the man that can't be named, that coach, always went for it on 4th downs. Why am I forgetting his name? Brandon Staley. Yeah, see, I already blacked out his name in my head. Well, it'll be interesting. Defensive line for the Jaguars in the past hasn't been too bad. I don't know if they lost anybody. Feels like the Panthers could only go up, and the Jaguars really could only stay the same, drafting away and taking Travis Hunter.
This will really determine if there's actually are still going to be able to be a playoff team, or if it's just time to start rebuilding around not Travis Hunter. What's his name?
Travis. Oh, Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm taking Panthers.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Titans at Broncos, the first of the 4:00 games. This is the game I think will be belt to ass. Just absolute Bronco. I'm not going to say that. Just belt to ass. Denver's favored by 7. You know, Titans had the first pick in the draft for a reason. Last we heard from Callahan, Levis, and Cam Ward are splitting reps. So be it. I think everyone knows who's starting that quarterback role. That's only what's being said right now. I'm not by any means saying there's a chance Will Levis will start this game. You know, you go into Mile High Stadium. The Broncos looked really good with Bo Nix. Sean Payton feels like he's got his guy. They drafted well around him. They still have Sutton. I don't know what the Titans have. They do have Lockett. They do have Pollard. They do have Calvin Ridley. You know, not bad supporting cast. They still have that tight end name that I can't pronounce simply out of respect of mispronouncing it. Apparently, and I don't know if this ESPN stat's real or not, Titans had the second best defense just in general for yards per game overall. I don't know how that worked out. I don't know if the Titans just ate up all the clock themselves and teams would throw it 100 yards and that'd be the end of the drive. But that's something to think about, even though they gave up the 3rd most points last year. I don't see any world the Titans come out of this game, go into Denver, a Mile High, and losing.
The Cowboys just get the Broncos running back, though.
Okay. So, but the Broncos drafted a running back that's supposed to be pretty good. I think
the Broncos easily handle this game. I'm not even going to try to refute that.
The one thing I will say is the Broncos defense was amazing last year. Their offense was really good. The Broncos lost, I think, 2 different coaches or coordinators on that. I think it was their pass coordinator, and they lost someone else. I don't want to say it wasn't their offensive coordinator. I think it was their pass coordinator and something else. Wide receiver coach, maybe. Who knows if that really affects anything with Bo Nix, but I think Broncos handle this game easily by 7.
Me too.
I might even take the under at 41.5. This could be a 21-7 game. Maybe a 28-7 game, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how Cam Ward does out of the gate. Not hating on him, just simply stating the Titans as an organization I don't think are in a spot right now to come out winning. But who knows?
Crazy. Not too long ago, though, they were the number 1 in the AFC.
That was wild.
That is kind of crazy.
Tannehill, Derrick Henry. I don't think A.J. Brown? Oh, D-Hop. I know A.J. Brown got traded from the Titans. I couldn't remember when, but crazy to think about. 49ers at Seattle. This is interesting. San Francisco coming out. Basically the same team. Fred Warner re-signed with the 49ers. Trent Williams re-signed with the 49ers. Brock Purdy just got absolutely paid. If they're healthy, I don't think the team looks too much different.
We got to see where Ayuk goes still.
Yeah, Ayuk's with the team. He's not going anywhere.
Oh, officially? Okay.
Right? I thought he re-signed last year. But Debo's gone.
Yeah, Debo's gone. Just got to see how CMC does. And they got good running backs behind him still.
Seattle got Cooper Kupp. Seems to always go crazy against the 49ers. They got Sam Darnold. They lost Lockett and Metcalf. I don't know. Bobo. Can't forget about him on the Seahawks, obviously.
No fan.
Classic.
This is a pickle.
This doesn't feel like a game that I want to really spend my hard-earned money on.
I would not touch this game at all. As I said before, I'm pretty low on the Niners after last year. I really don't know if they're going to be able to bounce back to what they used to be a couple years ago.
Right.
But I'm also very low on Sam Darnold. I've said that a lot too. Both these teams, I believe, are going to be fighting for the playoff spot in their division with the Rams.
I would agree.
Like every team in this division, they're just going to beat each other up over and over and over. They'll probably all get about 9-8. That's how I feel about this entire division.
I completely agree. I don't want to pick anything in this game. Nothing sounds amazing and nothing sounds great. You know, the 49ers should have five draft picks on defense, if that says anything, but I don't know what to think about this game. The Seahawks won't be the same team. The 49ers might be, but then you're assuming they're going to kind of pick up and drop games like they did last year.
Yeah, if I had to pick someone, I'd probably just go Seattle because it's at home.
Yeah, honest to God, I'd probably do the same thing.
This game, I was like, I don't know too much about.
I could see the 49ers winning this game by 15, and I could see the Seattle squeaking by with a field goal at the last drive of the game.
Exactly. It just depends on the Niners' offense, really. The Niners' defense is going to be solid. Seahawks' defense is usually pretty solid. It really depends on can the Seattle's offense get rolling, because San Francisco is going to score at least a touchdown or two.
Yeah, out of spite, I'm going to take San Francisco -2, even though I'd rather not touch it. It's way too early in the season, or in the year. Why not? You have any pick on this matter, or are you going to stay away?
If I had to pick, I'd go Seattle, just because they're at home.
Fair enough. Detroit at Green Bay. Ooh-wee. Lions lose their coordinators. Packers are still packing. We're at Lambeau Field. It's a pick'em, or, a -1 for Detroit right now. Away team is 4-2 in the last 6 in these matchups. Packers draft Matthew Golden, I think it was.
Yep.
New OC for the Lions was the Broncos pass game coordinator last year, so that's someone I was referencing earlier.
And he was saying he wasn't going to change much of the offense.
Yep, he was going to keep it pretty same.
A pretty hands-on coach as well. So.
Exactly. The Lions seem like they've only gotten better. The Packers felt like they were still trying to figure out some things last year. I don't know. I mean, out of the gate,
I think the Lions pretty much handle business pretty easily.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think the Packers need to figure out Jair Alexander, assuming he's playing in this game somehow. I still think the Lions handle this. They've got so many weapons. That defense has only gotten better. They'll be healthy this year. They weren't healthy last year at certain points. I don't know. I can't believe I'm saying it.
Jordan Love's consistency still hasn't been proven.
It feels so inconsistent. Moments he has 500 yards a game. Other moments it's like 200.
Same with last year. I believe it's Aaron Jones. Wait. Running back on
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. It was Aaron. Yeah. Okay. I feel like he really didn't have the best year. He still had a good year, but it was also on that inconsistency part. It feels like when the Packers are getting beat, they get beat. And then even when they're winning, it feels like the other team's always still in the game. And
I agree.
They still won a lot of games last year, but they were close.
They were.
So I feel like if the Lions win, they're going to win by like 17. If the Packers win, they're going to win by like a field goal. If that. And it'll just come down to the 4th down conversions if the Lions are actually completing them or not.
Yeah,
I think that's essentially how this game's just going to go.
Yeah, it's early in the season. The winter part of Lambeau Field really doesn't have an effect. It's the first week of the season. I'm probably just going to take Lions -1.
Same.
It's a 4:00 game. Nothing too crazy. Texans at Rams. Rams are favored by a point. Rams are 4-0 against the spread against the Texans.
1 point.
Yeah. Texans' new offensive coordinator was with the Rams for 2 seasons as a tight end coach and a pass game coordinator. Thought that was an interesting little tidbit of information for this game. Stafford gets Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Una 4 on defense. They still have the other Jalen Verse, I think his name was, who really came into full form at the end of last year. Texans did fill up the holes in the draft at the wide receiver position because I think it's Tank Dell that
out.
He potentially might be out for the entire season. I don't know if that's official. I don't know if it's the entire season or not. But, you still have Tank Dell. You lost Stephon Diggs. Or still Nico Collins, I'm sorry. You lost Stephon Diggs. You got Mixon and Schultz. Yeah. But I feel like this Rams defense, Stroud does play better in dome fields, dome stadiums, however you want to say that. They're not outdoors. They're indoors.
He's coming out with something to prove this year after the sophomore kind of regression.
I would not be surprised if somehow the Texans won this. I think the Rams defense is going to be too much. And I think Sean McVay would love to beat up one of his past assistant coaches, just as like a personal spite, if anything. I haven't seen any reason not to pick Stafford in an NFL game yet. He's not looking like one of these old quarterbacks that they wheel out necessarily. He for sure still has it.
I feel like he's never been really a mobile quarterback to begin with. So.
Exactly. Him getting less mobile is not a problem. I think they did end up drafting an offensive guard or lineman at least to try and help with that. I really think the Rams have only gotten better in this offseason. I think this game could go either way. For sake of it all, though, I'm going to take Rams -1 just because they're home, just to give the edge.
Yeah.
4 o'clock game should be exciting. On to the next. Now here we get Sunday night. Yes, the Ravens at Bills. Right now it's 1.5. What do you expect? Historically boring games. 2-7-1 against the over/under. Home team is 4-2 in the last 6. Ravens tried to solve some of their problems on defense. I think it was Malachi Starks was their first overall pick, a safety, just to help out with the pass defense. Definitely was a problem for them last year somehow. Their draft is in general focused on defense. Bills, similar thing. Focused on defense. Both these offenses are proven. They just need to be able to get the stops. I think Josh Allen and, oh my God, I can't remember his name. Shakir maybe?
Yeah.
Khalil Shaquille? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I think the Bills will be fine. They still have, is it Aaron Jones?
It is not Aaron Jones, it's James Cook.
James Cook. Fuck me. I can't keep any of these names straight. I think just because this is in Buffalo, it gives them the edge out of the gate. Ravens definitely are a dominant team. To be honest, no matter who wins this game, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how.
I think it'll be a shootout. I don't think it'll be a low-scoring game.
I don't think so either. But we'll have to see. I mean, literally all of these defensive players they drafted, if they start, are going up against each one's going up against one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC that they'll see.
Exactly.
So it might be a bit of a barn burner there. People getting turned to burned. You still have Zay Flowers. You still have Shaquille. You still have Bateman and someone else, I think. Andrews.
What's his name?
Oh my God. 88.
How are we forgetting these people?
Well, we haven't heard their names week to week for a while.
Yeah.
But Derrick Henry, for the love of God. Now Bills did pick up Joey Bosa, but I think that's going to be more of a veteran role player than anything else. I'm going to go with Buffalo because they're home.
Yeah. Huh? I said Isaiah Likely on the Ravens.
Isaiah Likely, that's it.
The new tight end one. But yeah, I'd go with Bills on this one too.
Same with Bills. They've got Dalton Kincaid and Knox.
Yeah.
Yep. I think this will come down to the end, but I would love to see a shootout in Sunday Night Football the first week of the season.
Yeah, I think the Bills do squeak by.
I do too. I didn't even add a second bullet for this. I couldn't find anything worth it. I won't lie.
No, the Bears are favorited.
Yeah, Vikings at Bears in Soldier Field. The Bears are favored by 1.5 right now. This is all according to ESPN, I believe. The rest of the books are pretty similar. Vikings are 8-2, 6-3-1 against the spread. How much do we think Ben Johnson is going to do to this Bears team where they come out week 1 firing all cylinders? I will say, the new defensive coordinator for the Bears is Dennis Allen, the old Saints head coach that was previously their defensive coordinator from 2015 to 2021. Over the course of his career, he did a number on improving that defense, but it took a few years, right? Bears defense was already okay. Clearly, Caleb Williams had his moments both ways. Vikings got J.J. McCarthy, and the rest of that offense stayed the same. Some things might have changed on the defense, but
that offense is the top 3, probably with the weapons they have.
Yes. It is J.J. McCarthy's first game, first starting game? First game of the season, however you want to put that. I can't remember. I'm definitely butchering that. Regardless, the first game that he's playing in, this year is going to be a prime time on Monday night at an away field.
Yeah. But
if I would have thought a little farther ahead, I know it's the Bears, but I thought a little bit farther ahead, I'd see a rookie quarterbacks do in primetime game first starts. I have no idea off the top of my head. That'd be a great stat if I was a better podcast host to look up before this. But you're dealing with the Bears.
Man, just can't. If there's a Bears fan that stayed this late in the video, just please comment like what you could see the Bears have that the Vikings don't have. Vikings had one of the top 5 defenses of last year, and not too much changed. Yeah, they lost some pieces. Their offense is still as a top 2 wide receiver in the league, and Addison's probably a top 5 wide receiver 2 in the league, in my opinion. And then you have Aaron Jones at running back. TJ Hawkinson used to be at least a top 5 tight end. Like, every piece of the Vikings is better. And yes, there's still an unseen quarterback on the Vikings, but Caleb Williams has shown that he has his faults too. So I just don't see any part of where the Bears can be favored in here when the Vikings are a better all-around team in every position possible.
Hey, it sounds like a value pick to take the Vikings.
Sorry,
prime time anyway.
I don't know what it is with me and the Bears. It's biased, but that's just factual. There's not a single piece on the Bears that are better than a single piece on the Vikings in a head-to-head matchup. The fact that they are favored is disgusting.
Despicable, some would even say. And that head coach on the Vikings is pretty good, given he's had Justin Jefferson for his career, but they've had great records the last 2 years at least that I can remember, maybe even 3.
The Bears got the OC. You're right. Ben Johnson is better, but
no. I was just saying simply that the Vikings coach has been doing really well the last few seasons with what he's had, surprisingly, and they've looked good. And the Bears' new offensive coordinator is Declan Doyle, the tight end coach for the Broncos. I don't see many things in the Bears' direction. This is a complete bias on my part. I would just take the Vikings.
I think not too much change from last year to this year. And the Bears were 4-win team last year.
Yeah.
And the Vikings were 1 game away from the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Like, this just feels like I might be delusional. Give me the Vikings by like 7, at least.
I don't think you're delusional. I do think you have a bias. I don't hate the Vikings in this situation. However, I could see Caleb Williams just having a crazy game. But it's prime time. It's Monday Night Football. Hammer on the under. This might be the worst game of the season. Who knows? I don't really think that, but rookie quarterback, and when the lights are brightest, it's odd. And then you're in my ear saying how bad the Bears are, and I have no gauge of it because of how up and down Caleb Williams was. There was weeks against a decent defense that he would have 150 yards, then against a terrible defense have 350.
I wasn't going to go on the rant until I saw that the Bears were favored. And that's fair. That's something triggered in my brain, man. Sorry, podcast.
His greed sickens me. Nevertheless, I think that's about all we had for this week. I'm going to take Vikings money line. I know Matt's taking Vikings money line. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we'll be back in studio. Matt, you got anything else before I end the episode?
No, this should be all.
All right. You know what, guys? Appreciate you watching. Like, comment. If you have anything to say, of course, I will be a comment warrior as this video comes out. Hope everyone has a great week, and another week without football means we're a week closer to football. Stay safe, and we will see you all later. Peace.